All right, guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk about the fourth C, which is consistency, a stubborn consistency in pursuing our vision. So this is all about creating a coaching business, doing stuff that you love, blah, blah, blah. I want to talk about principles and the perception of fear and perception of truth, because this should show you that in the world of coaching, nothing is set in stone. There's been awesome coaches and athletes who figure out a couple of stuff, but I think we're just scratching the surface. The world of fitness is obviously changing right now. We're in the midst of the pandemic, and it is time to talk about true consistency and what I think that means for developing your business. So I'm going to start off with a quote, super smart quote from Marcus Aurelius. And he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." So I think being in the midst of a pandemic is the perfect timing to actually evaluate your consistency, evaluate your vision and what to do about it. So I think the world of fitness currently is changing and should change and should evolve. Gyms are closed. Coaches are doing Zoom calls, etc., etc. What I think you should work on right now, or even on a regular basis, like once every 12, 18 months, is sit back and be like, where should I be stubborn about and where should I be open-minded? So I take an analogy of having strict principles tied loosely together. So my principles are who I want to work with, normal people, what style of coaching I want to use, how I want to help people get their progress, and the approach to it. Within those rules, within those principles, anything can change, literally anything. Because the truth, whatever it is, the best methods or the best, even the best exercises, whatever, are not found yet. And there's a reason for this. Let me give you a good example. So I heard the story in another podcast. And the guy was talking about perceived fear. And he had an awesome example. He talked about hippos versus sharks. So at first glance, who do you think is the most dangerous animal of those two? Sharks or hippos, right? Everybody would say sharks. I would say sharks. But if you check the numbers and if you check how many human beings have actually been killed by one of those two animals, is actually hippos. So the perception of a problem, the perception of shoulder pain, is most likely going to be the shark for you. But maybe the problem lies somewhere else, like the hippo, in the hippo example. Or the same with how many, it's not a political discussion or a political statement, how many people got killed by either terrorists or people texting and driving. The perceived fear of being killed by terrorists is obviously way higher. If you ask 10 people, I would say 9 out of 10, or not even 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 would say, oh, hell yeah, like terrorist is way more dangerous than Zuzi driving a car and driving and texting. And obviously the numbers are showing something different. There's been more people killed through texting and driving than actually through terrorists. And again, this isn't a political statement. It just shows your perceived fear, your perceived problems and challenges in the world of coaching are probably not the ones you need to solve first. So what does it mean? You don't need to solve an exercise problem. You don't necessarily need to teach somebody how to squat. I think the first step is, and that's a shark, obviously, like we got to teach people how to hinge and how to squat and how to do ABCD, because that's the most important thing, like fixing the movement patterns and getting everybody on the same page and everybody understands which muscles are going to fire. And don't get me wrong, this is super, super important. But there's another humongous problem, which is the hippo, which is, are you building an environment for that person? Are you building a culture for the person where she or he can actually open up and be like, okay, this is my real issue, and it's awesome that you're working on a squat with me, but I'm super afraid of applying intensity, or I'm super afraid of changes. I'm super afraid of losing something, which is you're going to take my comfort zone away from me. So I've been studying bad human behavior a lot in the last couple of weeks and months, not by walking around, although this would also be an option in times like this. Read awesome studies, awesome books about human behavior, addiction, drug addiction, social media addiction, alcohol addiction, you name it, because I wanted to understand the difference between good consistency and bad consistency. Because obviously being addicted to something is bad consistency, and having a good rhythm and knowing when to stop and knowing when to up the volume, etc., is a good consistency, or one that's gonna favor a favorable response to stress from you. So one study, super interesting. 85% of people, roughly 85% of people, get addicted to smoking after the first time. So when you get your first cigarette, there's about 85% getting addicted, and only 30% on either heroin or cocaine. So as sad as that is, I was diving deeper into it, and I was like, wait, give me a second. Like that means like smoking is more addictive than cocaine and heroin? That sounds really weird. So I dug deeper, and there's basically two principles of human behavior lying underneath it. So why is the cigarette so much more addictive? It's A, the environment, and B, the ease of use. So environment means you can get cigarettes everywhere, like literally on every corner. It's not even costing a fortune, a couple of bucks. So it's very, very easy to get. So the ease of use in the environment means it's a habitual drug or habitual addiction. Like you smoking when you're drinking coffee, when you're socializing, when you're going out, when you're drinking alcohol. And it's that consistent and small bits of dopamine that gets delivered to your brain, which triggers that deep addiction. And I think that's very much true for every single behavior that's out there. So the repetition of power. Same with Google and Facebook. Awesome story about Facebook. One of the original OGs, the programmer said, Facebook was great until I invented the infinite scroll. Like you can literally scroll to oblivion. And that triggers your brain, like that ease of use, that environment. You get another dopamine, you get another dopamine shot, you get another video, etc. And that's what you need to create on, obviously, the good side of things for your people. Like that consistency, the power of your mind. So small bits and pieces, like small daily challenges, self-awareness, putting stuff into context, giving perspective to progress, giving perspective to how much should I lift that day? Should I slowly increase? Should I PR every single day? Like, that's stuff that we're implementing in the Get Crazy Challenge, and it's working really, really well, because our people get like daily, small little bits and pieces, thinking about stuff, practical application, rethinking about why they're setting certain behaviors. I think that's as important as training. So you need to talk to your people about, okay, what's the one thing that we need to work on habitual wise, but you can just ask them. So give them small little tasks. Give them a diary, a book, a sheet of paper, and let them write, let them think, let them experience some self-awareness, and let them solve the problem. Be the guidance. Set some strict principles about nutrition, about sleep, about whatever, but let them be tied loosely for them together so they can find their own solution.